Platoon, there was a closed-door meeting on Third Bridge, the same company that helped GameStop announce the Microsoft partnership back in October. That happened last week on March 30th. Now, we were all curious about exactly what was going on behind closed doors, whether they were going to announce Ryan Cohen as CEO, and they've done something better today. Ryan Cohen was just announced chairman of the board, means that he is the CEO's boss, but that's not the important part. The important part is where is GameStop going and how can you actually get behind the wheel and actually focus on their vision, because that's the most important part. If you believe in GameStop as a value stock, if you believe that their value is going to continue rising them into the stratosphere, then you definitely want to watch this video to the end and learn with us. Here is the full transcript of the GameStop e-commerce transformation and structural business overview. The only thing you guys need to do on your side is make sure that you are strapped in, make sure that bell button and the subscribe button is pressed, hit that like button early so that more people can find this. I'm just going to be covering the most important parts, and make sure that right now we have trades in the chat. Make sure to throw some gorillas down there for him. And CCIV, you're going to be on deck, don't worry. So once again, guys, feel the positive vibes, and we are going to talk directly about where Third Bridge is going and how their interview with GameStop is going to give you insight into what the leadership actually wants to see. So we have key competitive dynamics, revenue analysis, digital transformation efforts, foot traffic recovery trends post-pandemic. Basically, how can you take advantage of the fact that the pandemic is easing up, and you have the ability to be able to learn from your competitors, right? Learn from other meme stocks that are taking advantage of the pandemic easing up, and then near-term risk highlighting public image, right? Some of the people that have gone to a GameStop don't have excellent experiences. So how do we push that customer experience to the next level? We've already looked through a good amount of these questions, but we are going to cover the most important ones, such as I think one of the biggest questions is esports. One of the next biggest questions is how are they going to be able to work on the e-commerce transition, right? This was all about the fundamentals that we've read about GameStop in the past, and then about the viability of GameStop's original business, right? Selling pre-owned games. All of this is going to be answered and more. So stay tuned. We are going to be able to focus up, and this source is in the description down below. It's a long transcript, so we're going to be skipping around. What is the overview of the video game retail industry? Are there some key trends and themes you think the investment community needs to pay attention to right now? So it's greatly digital. When you look at that, it's not going to be a surprise to anyone, right? So they're looking at a move where Fortnite, right, and League of Legends has created this humongous online persona, right? Fantastic, like, ability to talk about what the stock. It's a great ability to be able to exist in a space that you don't need another platform to. You don't need someone pushing you all the time. It is a space that grows itself based on the hype from other community members. So that's something that GameStop at the very least understands here. Mom and dad have a hard time understanding what is the right game or the safe game. You're going to see that often. They're going to be saying mom instead of mom, but they care about the person buying the game that's not the child themselves, right? We as adults buy our own games, go into our own GameStops, be like, I want that one. And then you get to pay it with your own wallet. The people at the top of GameStop need to know that mom and dad oftentimes have to make the right decision. We're seeing not only more people getting into gaming because of a lower barrier to entry, not having to repurchase a console, we're also seeing publishers recognize this trend by creating a lot of games to be mobile first. So in that sense, if GameStop can recognize that, they might be trying to capitalize on as well. And this is just the very first question, very benign. It's going to get a lot juicier in just a second. Could you assess the last console cycle for GameStop? How much market share do you think the company picked up? How might this develop over the next few months? They can't speak specifically on the market share, but they can say that yes, absolutely, the new consoles coming out, it's a lifesaver for GameStop. I think they should be using this kind of rhetoric, like a lifesaver, what, your life was in danger? But right now we are looking at the PS5 is going to come out, Razor Blade model, and the consoles and video games. They love to be able to have an announcement and say, look, we've got something and they've been out for months. So this is going to be something that GameStop is keeping an eye on. However, remember, the e-commerce story is more important, and the esports as well. So that's something that is a small answer here about exactly what consoles are doing for GameStop. Next question is, do you think there's a drop in demand across GameStop's product portfolio after customers have bought the 2 new consoles? More questions about consoles, but sure, part of that is going to be based on the games that are released and the strategy from publishers. So this partnership, this dance between GameStop, which exists right between the customer and the publishers, and exclusivity, you guys are going to see later on in this interview, GameStop is trying to provide more incentives for its publishers to exist in a space with GameStop that GameStop can only provide, right? They're trying to find their golden ticket right now. And one of those is being able to have that exclusivity and working with teamwork here. So let's see. That doesn't give GameStop something to sell, but what I always go back to is the digital purchase of the video game is something of the most convenient thing in the world. And the fact that you can quite literally download them directly from the console to the PC that you're playing on, and during the betas for these games, before the game is officially released, they'll let a number of people play the beta, and they are pushing the customer right then to buy the game digitally, and it will download automatically. So GameStop understands that the brick and mortar world that they originally relied on is likely not going to be the hottest and freshest. So one of the most important things is that they recognize that, and they are moving forward with that analysis of their own of their transition into e-commerce. Okay, and more about the logistics of going into and downloading a game. All right. So if I get too far back, rein me in. I think he did go a little far. So let's answer number 4. Can you elaborate on GameStop's brand erosion within the gaming community? How challenging will it be to build back up the brand image with the gaming community? So as of right now, the ape community loves GME. The investing community loves GME. Let's actually talk about the gamers, right? If you are a gamer and you love GME, you are going to have to throw us some rockets in the chat right now. Right, because that will show us just first of all how many people love GME. If you are watching this after the live stream, make sure to throw them in the comment section down below. I'll start with that. It's no secret that if you trade in a used game at GameStop, they don't pay you very much for it, and then when they price it for pre-owned in the store or they're reselling the store, the pre-owned price is very high. So they recognize that people likely have been on the tail end of this transaction. This has made the community very dissatisfied. It's created a lot of memes. This does not just dissatisfy the consumer base, it's dissatisfy the publisher partners as well. Right? Basically, you are gouging both sides of the connections that you have. You look in the publisher and you're saying, hey, we're going to make this huge margin, bigger margin than perhaps you're making on this game, entirely free of your control when we have we buy a game for like $5 and then sell it for like 35. So this pisses off both sides of the market. They can recognize this. Let's see, that so aspect has really turned away the gaming community. So let's see if they're trying to move away from it. The other thing is simply that there's been a focus on supporting the community in the past. All the marketing and communication efforts have been very transactional. Buy the game here, here's the weekly ad, very little. Very little, how can we support your game today and enhance your experiences? When they were at GameStop, my job, part of it was focused on esports. So that's something that I've highlighted here, is that I wanted to be able to see exactly when they talk about esports. We thought that we had crafted a great strategy and would be greatly accepted by the community. And sadly, when we announced our 5 big esports partnerships, the response from the community was, I thought GameStop was bankrupt. How do they have money for a partnership? Okay, being a little bit blunt here. Essentially a too little, too late sort of response. I would love it if Ryan Cohen and his team, if their strategy was to turn around the sentiment, but from what I've seen from personally supporting the gaming community through GameStop and seeing their response, it looks like they've turned away and they're turning towards other retailers. So it seems like they understand what pisses off the community on both sides, and they understand that Ryan Cohen is the answer. Luckily, he is now the chairman of the board, so hopefully that becomes an answer that answers itself. But unfortunately, I don't think I see a solution here based on this response. What more should Ryan Cohen and his company's management team think about to win back the gaming community? Do you see them doing the right things here? I think it comes down to the experience of the gaming community. I consult a lot of brands and agencies on how to do this with the esports community. It's difficult, skeptical group to reach, and what you have to do is to enhance their experiences, right? So now we're talking about the experiences. They understand that young people love experiences. This is a trend that, basically anybody can go around and talk about, is that young people love experiences. Old people like things, and that's why young people will never want to own a home. Not that they don't want to, is that we can't financially afford homes. But as of right now, it is cognitively assonant to say that young people love experiences, and there's true in some of that. So we do want to be able to have them come into the gaming lounges. And this is going to connect to something. I'm going to jump the gun a little bit and go to the bottom of the article in the mindset. But it's kind of like giving the experience of an after home for your kids, right? Instead of sending them to Kumon, you're going to be able to send them to GameStop. And that's coming up in just a second. But as a idea of building a community for teamwork, for experiences, and as a portal to new ways of learning, I think that is a great way to go through it. So the question that they want to ask is, I look at what the video game release events are happening. How can I have the unique experience, whether to play the game first or meet the developer? How can I support education? How can I support education? That's huge. Love that question. Oh, here it is. One way to think about that, I think, around education, STEAM and STEM through junior high and high school and college. I think there's an opportunity to lean into that. You're going to want to have your parents happy that they're finding positive ways for their child to interact with gaming. I think that this is huge because, one, parents just have to find something for their parents anyway, truly. Parents have to find something for their kids to do, and they are going to have GameStop be one of the options. That's one of the best ways to be able to build on that learning that they've already been doing, but allow them to have GameStop take up that market share. So that's new market share that maybe even GameStop didn't know that it could tap into. The positive aspects are less obvious, but there are a lot of things with teamwork. There are a lot of things with competition, with learning to win and lose, the communication that's required on these multiplayer games. And then when you look at what can be done from an education standpoint, you see a lot of roles in traditional sports also apply to esports, right? And gaming as well. So imagine the soccer moms sending their kids to play an activity that's mainly meant to just teach you teamwork and keep your body fit, right? Instead, breaking it down to two different sections, right? Having them work out at a regular gym, and then or like another activity that gets their blood pumping and their bodies moving, and then bring them to GameStop and then have them learn teamwork in a way that is a little bit more isolated. You know why this works? Because of the pandemic, because kids are still not safe going to soccer practice for a long time. So GameStop will take that role of being able to have kids in a room that is likely going to isolate easier than other team opportunities. So once again, when the parent has the question of, okay, how do I teach my kid teamwork without getting them sick? This is the way. How can you experience these things in a more engaging way? How can I experience them in a more engaging way remotely? Oh, look, GameStop is already ahead of me on here. A little bit of production there as far as working with publishers and saying, can we do something exclusive for the audience through GameStop where the audience says, wow, I got this because of GameStop. So they're looking for that special touch. Do you think publishers will want to sign up for an exclusive rights deal with GameStop as you discussed? So I want to be able to say that they are looking for that AMC touch, right? AMC wants to be able to go to Disney Plus and say, hey, you are Disney Plus. I would like to be able to show your movie, I don't know, the next episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then I want to be able to show that episode of the Falcon and Winter Soldier for like 3 box offices, right? 3 box office weekends, and then you are free to do whatever you want. Stream it then. So the exclusivity part is here to coming over to GameStop as well. That's my GameStop. You're the ideal scenario would be your friend is a guy who works there. You go there to hang out. There's a lot about the customer experience in the store that can really come to life, and I think that is something that GameStop can say that like the normal like errands. If you guys have lived in the suburbs before, you're likely going to experience that there's not a lot of options for you to actually like hang out in. And the malls and the little plazas that have GameStop, if it becomes a place that you can actually say, well, I have a couple of hours to kill, you would then spend it there based on a marginal like decision. You're like, do I want to spend it at Wingstop or do I want to spend it at GameStop? And if GameStop can be that winner of that marginal decision, that could be huge for its the market share for getting people in the door. Does entering the esports market still make sense? Now, this is what I wanted to make sure that we actually cover here, right? Esports and gaming for teamwork building specifically, right? Here, we've already covered this briefly in the live stream, but they are just talking about the major players that are already in the game, right? So they say, yes, they want to, but, you know, we got Belong Gaming Arenas with Vindex. We have Nerd Street Gamers with Five Below. They are looking at the game as like very difficult to they Akatsuki Tiger 69. I'll cover your super in just a second. It's very difficult to be able to plug the GameStop world here, right? You don't know exactly what is going on.
But can you change the name of the title of the video? Because it's misleading, right?
It says restored.
It says banned?
It says banned, then restored. People who have woken up in the last 3 hours, I'll talk to you in a second. So that is the esports sector right there. What are your thoughts on what Ryan Cohen and the leadership team have talked about around GameStop's e-commerce transition, right? So this is the bread and butter of the video, is that we have to talk about exactly what is likely to build out the story for the actual like GameStop from brick and mortar to the e-commerce world. So important. The most important pieces of this puzzle is to be able to actually build out that stepwise movement piece at a time for your brick and mortar, like selling GameStop and having it stuck in that mall or that plaza, and actually moving it onto the space of Amazon, right? We've talked about how GameStop could be an Amazon killer based on the fundamentals of how we've tracked Amazon's growth and GameStop's growth. So that's one of the other major pieces of this pie. So actually, I'm going to break this video into a couple of pieces. We've already covered half of these questions. So once for the road, please make sure that you have already checked out that like and that subscribe button, for the bell, most importantly the bell as well. And underneath that subscribe button, we also have the join button to join the Moon Platoon, Gorillionaire, and Meatball the Space Legend tiers. And I'm happy to say that you guys are some of my very favorite people. I love waking up each and every morning to talk to you guys. If you want to catch us bell to bell, that's a great way to do it because that's a way to be able to ask me questions live, which I'm going to go and turn to right now. So have a great day, and I'll see you